I think I have an answer to this question, but I want to throw it to you. I want to have a conversation in the comments about that. I want to take your voicemails and your emails. I'll throw the number here, probably throw it at the end too, but 714-576-4054. If you're someone who watches my videos and doesn't go to the end, maybe you don't know that I dropped the phone number, and my email, which is daily@dollemore.com, at the end of every single video. The question is, this question to which I think I have some semblance of an answer is why so many white Christian nationalists, diehard supporters of Donald Trump, why they despise democracy so much. And that's not just a hyperbole, a stab with hyperbole at the narrative here. These are his words. These are Joel Webbon's words himself, that he despises democracy. I'm not going to wait. I'll just tell you what I think it might be, and then I'll play this clip, this very gross, dangerous clip from Joel Webbon. I think it's because they know their worldview and ideology is so repulsive to normal Americans that it's never going to be implemented through democratic means. It's never going to be voted into office or into, they're not going to vote politicians into office who are going to make this thing a reality. Repealing the 19th Amendment so women don't have the right to vote. Repealing the right to vote for many people. Really, he wants just straight white males to be able to vote, you know, much like it was at the beginning of the 1800s, the end of the 1700s when the country started. That's my take on it. I think there are probably other elements that play a role, but again, I welcome your participation in this conversation. Watch this clip, and I hope you're as alarmed at me that these people are serious in what they're saying.
The reason why I have grown to despise democracy is because it's not we the people. It's we the some people. And who are those people? Non-elected officials. Yep. Like what democracy, what it lends its strength to is, instead of having elected officials that have power, is a raw universal, because that's what we have, is a universal democracy. Everyone is allowed to vote. Right. Everyone. And just for the record, you know, yeah, I think the 19th Amendment should be repealed. I think that because, well, first and foremost, because I'm a Christian. You know, and that is the Christian position. Oh my gosh, that you're saying that? Yes, that is the Christian position, is that households should not be divided against one another. So it's not just elevating a male vote, but it's elevating the household vote. We're saying that that society, if you break it down to the basic building block, is not atomistic as individuals, but molecular, being households. That the way that God sees humanity is He breaks them down to families, and so that it's not just random individual atoms all, you know, bouncing around together, and you know, 350 million atoms bouncing together in one nation on one piece of land, but it's families. And so by repealing the 19th Amendment, just for the record, it's not just trying to take away a female vote, but it's trying to say, no, there's a family vote. Right. There's a household. And it's like, well, where do women get their voice? Well, where women get their voice is from their father, from their husband. If they're not married, it's from their father. If they're not married and their father is dead, it's from their brother, it's from their uncle, it's the men in their lives that love them.
He's not even in agreement with himself here. We're not we the people, we're we the some. And then he wants to diminish the number of people who are able to vote, making us even more of a we the some. Right? What he says is we have a universal democracy. Everyone is allowed to vote. Tell that to your toddlers. Tell that to your teenagers, that everyone is allowed to vote. I thought Thomas Jefferson in the Declaration of Independence wrote about that we are all endowed by our creators with inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We are all equal, created equal. So this individual who, again, acts like he's some constitutionalist and a purist about patriotism doesn't believe in the tenets that are enshrined in our Constitution. So much so that he wants to repeal the 19th Amendment, making it illegal for women to vote. They just, you don't get to have a say in our democracy. You don't get to have a say in the people who represent you, who make policy that will directly impact you. You don't get to have a say if you pay taxes. So it's just, again, taxation without representation, much like we have in Washington, D.C., where I live. I don't have congressional representation. I don't have a voting member of Congress who represents me, despite the not unsubstantial amount that I pay in taxes. And then he says, households should not be divided against one another, as though that would be just the natural course of order. That he's discounting that maybe a wife would agree with her husband politically and vote in lockstep, thus doubling their representation at the polls. Why is it just assumed, it's a presupposition that a woman would not vote with her husband? Is it because her interests would not be well represented if she did? Joel Webbin? And then, of course, the bold proclamation as a man who knows what God thinks. That is the way that God sees humanity. And then he goes into this weird atoms and molecules, science educator. Where's my bat phone to Jesus? Science educator Joel Webbin. Look, this is dangerous for a number of different reasons. Not least of which is the fact that he has a following. He is a pastor. People look up to him. People think that he is, every wacky church I went to as a kid, got dragged to as a kid, there was some charlatan grifter as a pastor. And anytime anybody had any criticism, they would just say, touch not God's anointed. And they would compare themselves to Moses or some other bullshit. This is the same kind of a thing here. If people levy criticisms against this man in his congregation, that's what they'll be told. Or they'll drag out Isaiah 55, 8, and 9, that, God's ways are not our ways, and his thoughts are not our thoughts. And just as high as the heavens are above the earth, are God's thoughts and ways above ours. So don't question it. How dare you question what God has created here? And it's just a grifter. He's a liar. He's not a prophet. He's not a shepherd of a flock. He's a wolf in sheep's clothing, weaponizing religion and attempting to strip away voting rights for over half the population, women. Big time Trump ally. Anyway, if you have an answer to this question, I would love to hear it. You can comment below, of course. You can also leave me a voicemail, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. Let's put our heads together and solve this problem. If you want to help me make these videos, you want to be a producer of these videos, click the join button below. For $2 a month, you can help me do just that. Become a channel member. You can also go over to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. That's a great way. Same deal. $2 a month. Follow me on social media. I'm at Dollemore everywhere. Put the thing right here, Chris. Chris is my editor. Hey, Chris, right here. Yeah, that's great. Anyway, I love and appreciate you guys. I'll see you next time. Until I do, be genuine. Take care of one another.